Today we're interviewing Greg Long, class of 1977.
Cheers, Rupert.
So, Greg, what are some of the most memorable moments from your time at Auckland Grammar School?
I think probably the most memorable moment was when I first walked in the school hall in 1977, probably as with yourself when you first arrived. It was kind of overwhelming, the size of the place and the history that I felt when I walked in. You could sort of feel and sense the boys from the ages who'd been through the school.
And you were heavily involved with sports whilst at school, tennis more so than most, and you won numerous competitions for both singles and doubles across all age categories. When did you first start playing tennis, and what initially drew you to the sport?
My parents were tennis people. My father, Kevin, had been a top tennis player in New Zealand, a top 10 tennis player, and my parents played at Remuera Rackets Club. So my early memories of tennis was going up to the Remuera Rackets Club, which many of probably the school kids now here are probably, they and their families are probably members of. They were grass courts in those days, in the early to mid 1970s. So my first memories of playing tennis was really just going up to the club and just joining in with activities with the other kids of the parents at the club, and I started to hit a few tennis balls. I didn't actually start playing competitively till I was about 11. I remember the first event I ever played in, which was actually over at Mount Eden Tennis Club, not too far from here. But I think I started at about 8, would be my guess, when I first started hitting a few tennis balls. And in those days, I'm not so sure what a lot of the kids do these days. In those days, a lot of the kids started their tennis by hitting on a volley board. So like a concrete wall, which is, and of course you can never win a point against a concrete wall because the ball keeps coming back. And so that's where I and most of the players in those days learned and started playing their tennis.
Sure. And you won a full scholarship to play tennis at the University of Memphis. What was it like there, and how did it compare with your time at Grammar?
I went to Memphis, the University of Memphis, in 1981. The reason I went in 1981, I was supposed to be in the 7th form at Auckland Grammar in 1981. But as a kid playing tennis during my junior years, I developed a fascination with college tennis in America. We used to get these magazines in New Zealand called World Tennis Magazines. And some of the top players in the world, believe it or not, back then were players who had played college tennis. John McEnroe, Jimmy Connors were a couple of the high-profile players, professional players who had played college tennis. So I developed a fascination with college tennis in America. And I always thought, gosh, if I ever got an opportunity to go and play college tennis, I'd love to do it. So when I was in the 6th form at Auckland Grammar, I'd done my what they call UE, or university entrance, back then. When I was in the 6th form, I got the opportunity to be able to go to America after I finished my university entrance, and long story which I won't get into, but I met another New Zealand tennis player who had gone to the University of Memphis before me, and he came back to New Zealand and I got introduced to him, and he said the coach of the team in America was looking for another player from New Zealand if there was, and I was one of the better players in the country for my age group, so I got talking to this guy, got talking to the coach, went through the recruiting process, and he offered me a full scholarship, so I took it in 1981.
With the purchase of the Ngatira Tennis Courts, Auckland Grammar School now is a fully functioning tennis centre where we can host regular season games and traditional fixtures. How do you think this will impact current and future students who are involved with the sport?
It can only be positive, because without Auckland Grammar having a tennis facility within the vicinity of the compounds, and of course Clive Road's only just across the road, I think it'd be a pretty hard road to hoe for tennis at the school here. I mean, things have all changed down where the school and the prison area is. And so we're very, very fortunate, as I was saying to you all upstairs, we're very fortunate that through the Ryder family, Grant Ryder and the family, we were able to effectively purchase the Ngatira Tennis Club, which is now officially owned by the school and will perpetually be owned by the school now and can be used by the students, but also it's still going to be a functional tennis club called the Ngatira Tennis Club. That's right. Oh, okay. That's right. And it's going to be used also, which it always has been, for an event called the Pasco Cup, and the Pasco Cup is a tennis event run for businesses who choose to put a tennis team, people in a business around Auckland who play tennis, and they can put a team in, and it's been going for many, many years. So it's going to be a multi-purpose club for a number of different entities, but it's owned and run by Auckland Grammar.
I see. So would Auckland Grammar teams train there at the same time the club was being used? So.
Well, the idea is, and there'll probably be a little bit of teething, no doubt, like many things in life. The idea is that because Grammar will own and run the facility, Grammar will get first dibs on booking the courts for the kids, the boys who choose to be using the courts. And then outside of that, the club members will be able to use the courts. So that's how it's basically going to work.
What about club competitions? Would that obviously take more like dibs over the courts?
No, I think Grammar will get precedent over everything. But I get the impression that Grammar are not going to be using the courts overly intensively. You know, there's sort of a season for tennis like there are for all sports. And so there's blocks of when the courts will be needed to be used.
Yeah, and we also have the tennis courts down there as well.
How many? I'm not actually familiar with what's down there now. Are there still a few courts down below?
Next to it, and then
yes.
I think there's 3.
Are there 3?
3 or 4 maybe.
So they're all still functional courts down there?
Yeah, they're still functional.
Gotcha, gotcha. So
that's super handy.
It is, because there's 4 courts over there. 4 courts over there, yeah, and they're very good courts too. It's a nice spot over there at Ngatira because it's quite well protected by the mountain and the homes around it. Really nice feel to it over there.
Yeah, not quite grass courts like that.
No, that's right, but the grass courts, they're artificial grass, astroturf.
Yeah.
Grass courts are a thing of the past because they're too expensive to run and maintain. The game's moved on since 50s, 60s, 70s when they were quite prominent during the summertime. They do. They do. They're the last of the prominent events around the world that use grass courts. Most events in world tennis now are either on hard courts or clay courts. Yeah.
Is it different playing on either one?
It is. It is. Clay courts tend to give you quite a high bounce, and they tend to be predominantly in Europe. A lot of the clay courts are in Europe, and they're very slow surface, which means they create long rallies. It's really hard to win a point against a really good player. It's really hard to win. It's really hard to win a point against a good player. Grass courts are a faster surface, and the ball doesn't bounce quite as high, and it's easier to get to the net on a grass court surface. And once you get to the net, whether you win it or not, a point's more likely to be over, as opposed to players staying on the baseline. And hard courts probably sit somewhere in between. Very popular, the hard courts. But what I would say to tennis players is, and I know this from experience, having played college tennis in America, hard courts are very hard on your body. Okay, when you're a younger person,
I guess on your feet and legs.
Yes, very hard on your limbs, hard courts, whereas clay courts and grass courts are much easier on the body. And when you're younger, you don't really realise the damage that the courts might be doing on your body when you're 17, 18, 25 years of age, but people start to feel it when they get older. There's a price to pay a lot of hard courts.
Yeah. When you were at Grammar, was it grass?
They were asphalt, actually, in the day.
Oh, really?
And that's another surface again. In the day, when we played a lot of our tennis when we were younger, they were basically like playing on the road. Literally asphalt. And, with a showery climate like we have in New Zealand, they would get lots of puddles on them. And so they were difficult to, particularly in the winter, they were difficult to play on. The other thing was, we used to joke that if you played on asphalt courts, they'd wear your shoes out really quickly because the abrasion on the courts versus other surfaces. So they weren't really a great court, but in those days they were the court of the era. And that's what we largely, asphalt and grass courts were the courts that were played on 40, 50 years ago.
And then when you went to the US, was that hard court?
Pretty much. In college, everything was hard court. They did have some they did have some clay courts over there, but they were much faster clay courts than what they play on in Europe. They were a different sort of clay surface. And also, because America has a winter, and most places in the wintertime you can't play outside except for maybe California and Arizona and Florida, they have a lot of indoor facilities. And those indoor facilities are hard courts in America.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of videos of indoor courts.
Have you? Yes.
It's quite a good idea.
It's a great idea. And a lot of players, and I was one, love playing indoors because there's no conditions. And it makes you feel you're playing a whole lot better than you are because there's no sun, there's no wind, there's no rain. It's a nice feeling playing indoors.
And could you give a little more information about your role as principal at NZ Fund?
I've retired from NZ Funds. About 18 months ago, I retired from the day-to-day paid workforce. I had a good run though. I was with this company you're talking about called NZ Funds. Ironically, well not so ironically, there were quite a few grammar old boys involved with the business. So in 1993, and for 30 years, right to 2023, I was with New Zealand funds. What is it? It's a private company, New Zealand-based company, and we call ourselves a wealth management business. So we basically help New Zealanders with their planning and their saving for the future. You'll have heard of KiwiSaver.
Yeah.
A lot of people in the workforce now have KiwiSaver, and so it provides a regular savings for them to help to build up some resources for one day when they hopefully will retire. So our firm really helped people with their planning and saving before they got to retirement, and then also when people, if they're fortunate enough to develop or build up a lump sum of money, $1 million, $500,000 when they get to 60 or 65, we then help them manage that money and draw money off their investments so they could live on it for the rest of the year. So I was with that firm for 30 years. My main role was to develop relationships with principally financial advisors, accountants and lawyers who ultimately were the people, the professionals, on behalf of their clients who gave our business money to manage in that savings and in that retirement process. So think of me, I was the company, I called myself a relationship salesman for about 30 years. So basically I helped build the business from a very small business to a more sizable business over the years. So that was my career and I enjoyed it, loved it, but I'd done my 30 years and there were other things that I wanted to do in life, including having some involvement with Auckland Grammar and tennis in Auckland. I'm in the process of looking to help Tennis Auckland put a roof on the stadium down at Manuka, Manuka Doctor Arena. Yes, they call it the Manuka Doctor Arena. They're our new sponsor of the arena down there, but where the ASB Classics are, which you mentioned. So I'm leading the charge because it's high time that we put a roof over that stadium for the future.
That'd be a really good idea. Are there any indoor tennis courts in New Zealand?
There are, but there's nothing that
like substantial
enables bigger professional events to be played under. They're more for recreational players and smaller tournaments, but there are indoor tournaments and indoor centres, but this will be it's only over one court, the centre court. You've probably been down there yourself. So all going well, in 18 months' time, or less than that now, we will begin construction. I'll have raised the money and we'll begin construction on the roof there. So that's sort of my self-appointed job now that I no longer earn a living from a day-to-day job. It's all voluntary stuff, but tennis was so good to me over the years, as it was at Grammar. It's the least I think I can do to help with the game of tennis.
So now you're giving back. I think that's a really good idea.
That's my mantra now, and I've been lucky in life. I've had a pretty good run. As long as I keep my mental and physical health, I just want to help people and help entities.
And as a well-connected and prominent old boy, where do you see Auckland Grammar School in the next 10 to 20 years?
Auckland Grammar, it's always been a phenomenal school, and many things in life are cyclical. They go up and down and they have good years and bad years. My perception of Auckland Grammar over the years, they've only had a small number of, relative terms, headmasters over the years. So that says a lot about the school right there. And every headmaster puts their own spin, we'll call it, using the tennis analogy, and their own slight tweaking of philosophies onto a school. But I think right from when I was at school with John Graham being headmaster back then, and then John Morris and Tim O'Connor now, the ethos of the school, the philosophies, the quality of the boys, the masters, what they produce in the way of outcomes for academics and sport and many other things, it's second to none. And it's a private school that basically operates like a public school without having to, it's a public school that basically operates like a private school, except you don't have to pay the exorbitant fees at Auckland Grammar. And yet my view is you get every bit, if not better education than going anywhere else. I'm biased, obviously, in saying that. Much bigger school now. So you've kind of got to swim. You don't want to let yourself fall through the cracks at Auckland Grammar. I always felt with Auckland Grammar, you've got to hang your hat on something at Auckland Grammar, whether it be academics or sporting or input, like you both have, you and Josh have. You've got to be doing something of relevance at school here. And if you can do that, you can have a good run at Auckland Grammar. So in answer to your question, Auckland Grammar has always been a phenomenal school. I think it is at the moment, and there's no reason for me to believe it's not going to be a phenomenal school with all the philosophies and ethoses which resonate with me. Call me old school, but I'm a believer in discipline. And what grammar did for me, it made me feel like I was a member of a fraternity, a network, a fraternity. And when I look at grammar guys all these years later, guys I knew and guys I've met from grammar, generally they've been pretty successful human beings with a general giving spirit to them, who have done whatever they've done in life, have ended up doing pretty well. That's how I'd sum grammar up.
Yeah, thanks to the opportunities and obviously the amazing education, like you said. Not biased, obviously. But,
Nothing wrong with that, is it, being biased?
And finally, what would you say are your greatest professional achievements? And could you give some insight to current students on how they can go about achieving their goals?
I was with NZ Funds for 30 years, so I really had the one business that I worked with for basically the bulk of my working career. I didn't really start working till my late 20s. Dare I say, after I finished university in America, I was a bit of a tennis bum for a few years. I tried to make it on the professional circuit, which I couldn't make a living out of, but I got qualified in the stocks, bonds, commodity futures area in America, so I was qualified to be a broker and a trader in America. I decided to come back to New Zealand. But in answer to your question, I think just the fact that I was a part of a successful business, as I helped build a business from a very small business to quite a large private business. We employed a lot of people, it provided a lot of jobs, paid a lot of mortgages, and enabled people to have good futures with their families here in New Zealand. I think that's a sense of satisfaction, because a salesperson in the business brings business in. And if you don't have people to bring the business in, you ain't got a business. So I always felt like salespeople are obviously underestimated with what they do for a business, but somebody's got to bring the business in. Many people in a business, and you need other people too, they tend to cross the T's and dot the I's, but they don't bring business in. They just make sure the business flows and different services are provided for different components of the business. So I like the fact that I was on the revenue generation side of the business over the years. And what would I say to boys at school? You know what? I think you got a pretty darn good start. Both you and Josh have got a pretty good start in life here. Just go to Auckland Grammar. You can take from that what you want. Don't underestimate the opportunity you've had here. I think it's going to put you in good stead for the future. Stay true to yourselves. Do what you want to do in life. You're always going to be good kids anyway, I think, because grammar builds a conscience, a good conscience, a positive conscience, because you know right from wrong at grammar. And dare I say, some schools you don't really end up knowing what right and wrong was, just with their lack of discipline and the dishevelment of some, I hope the ministers don't hear this, but dishevelment of some of the schools these days. But grammar, you never have those issues with grammar. So coming back to my comments about grammar guys, they just tend to find their ways in life with the philosophies and the ethoses that you've been privy to and you've developed here at grammar. Stay true to yourself. What would I say in life? Perseverance and persistence and having discipline and organisation of your time and keeping your chin up when you face adversity, which we all do at times in life. I think that's going to put you in pretty good stead. And just try and do the right thing. I mean, life ain't perfect for anybody, but I say to people, all I've ever tried to do is just not be a jerk. Just try and be a net giver to life and society, and just try and be a decent person, whatever that might be to you.